You've mentioned that China has a no interference policy with other states, and that states should have their own ability to dictate their way of life or their existence. But wouldn't you say China's presence all over Africa is in a way an exercise of some sorts of power, a soft power of sorts, and does that not contradict with the foreign policy of China?
Allow me to mention one thing. Before China's extensive engagement with Africa, Africa itself is a forgotten continent. That's not what Victor Gao said. That's generally being said by Western countries. Africa, after decolonization, was more or less the forgotten continent. Western countries did not want to engage it for whatever reason. China went in, China treated every African country as brother and sister, and China really invested hugely in Africa. Now, many other countries are talking about engaging with Africa, including the United States, many European countries, India, for example. The more the better, because Africa should not be a monopoly for any other country, not for China, not for anyone else. Africa is for the African people. And the taste of the pudding is always, you should not be a judge yourself. You go to African country and ask them whether they like building a road, whether they like building a gymnasium, etc. That is the only truth, because don't be lectured by other countries about what value African countries should have. The African value will be different from many other continents, for example. The other countries in other continents will need to help the African country to build up their infrastructure, to build their manufacturing capabilities. And that is the only goal for China. China has no colonial objective for African countries. China is so far away physically from Africa. Whatever China is doing the same in ASEAN countries, in Latin American countries, for example. And this is a sign of China's philosophy. That is, if we build our pillars of transformation, we want to share that with you. If we believe building road is the only way out, we help you to build the road.
Khar. Thank you. My name is Carl Jumbo, freshman student at Georgetown University. My question is simple. Are you not being hypocritical, Mr. Gao? Why I'm asking, you're saying that, okay, in Africa, you're allowing some buildings, some infrastructure to be there. I'm from Zimbabwe. We have the second largest lithium reserves, but we're at the brink of losing ownership of all of these lithium reserves just because China built a parliament for my country. So if you're saying that you are promoting the sovereignty of nations, of countries, but you're taking our own parliament away, and let's say the airport in Kenya, for example, are you not being hypocritical?
Let me be very blunt. Zimbabwe is a great country. You had your election several years ago, and the presidential candidate was very much against China. He's elected as the president, and once he's in his office, he changed his mind, because he knows for sure that for Zimbabwe development, China is the main contributor for the Zimbabwean economic development. If you do not agree with me, go back to your country, talk to your government, and check out over the past 30 years, which country has invested most heavily in your great country. I know Zimbabwe well. China has dealt with Zimbabwe governments for several decades, including your great presidents, for example. And I would say China-Zimbabwe economic cooperation has helped the economic transformation in Zimbabwe in building up infrastructure facilities and in building up manufacturing capabilities of your country. That is the truth, if I may tell you. I think that is the only truth. Development is the hard truth. Thank you, brother.
I want to bring in some video from the current Senator and US Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. Here he is talking about American foreign policy.
We have built a foreign policy of hectoring and moralizing and lecturing countries that don't want anything to do with it. The Chinese have a foreign policy of building roads and bridges and feeding poor people, and I think that we should pursue a foreign policy, a diplomacy of respect, and a foreign policy that is not rooted in moralizing. It's rooted in the national interest of this country.
So let's imagine we're in January 2025. What are you expecting from American foreign policy? Let's start here.
So regarding the video again that is addressed, I wanted to go to Mr. Gao one more time. So you said that we're not supposed to be lecturing others and we're supposed to go with our own identity because the truth is subjective from one country to another, right? But at the very least, we talked about the weaponization of human rights. But there are very basic fundamentals when we're talking about human rights, and it has been addressed multiple times. How are you addressing the one-state nation that you are talking about, which is something that was created by us and systems, in comparison to religions and traditions which were by higher-ups that were not created by us? How are you giving importance to one-state nations compared to that?
Thank you very much. When we talk about human rights in the world of today, I think the most important human rights are to protect the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people. No country has any excuse to deny the Palestinian people their right of existence, their right to their own country, their right to their own culture. And if anyone comes to you and say, I'm a friend of your country, I'm a friend of Islam, of Muslim countries, etc., but I do not respect the Palestinian people's rights, he is a false friend. That's number one. Now, separately, you quoted J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is my classmate at Yale Law School. I was class of 1993. He was class of 2013. The quote he said is completely agreeable with me. China builds, America should build too. The United States should not just lecture others as if they have the totality of the truth. I think the United States is in a transformative age. It's launching a revolution against itself. This should be something very educational for all of us. I personally hope the United States will become great again 4 years from now. But where is the verdict? The verdict is still out there. We still need to urge our American friends to really work. And development is the hard truth. It applies to China for the past 46 years. It will apply to the United States in the coming 4 years. Thank you.
Well, if one took J.D. Vance at his words and also reflecting on where President Trump was the